Hello and welcome back to crackthefemalecode.com. Hey, this is Mike Kollin. Alright, today we're going to talk about something that happened to your brain inside the female's womb. Now before I say that, I want to say something that's going to shock you. Number one, the left brain, the male brain, which most men think, yeah, that's logical. Honestly, it is the beta brain. It is the follower brain. I've explained that in a lot of videos. I'm not going to do in this video. Number two, the right brain can literally spin circles around the logical linear left brain, and I'll explain why right now. So the left brain is equivalent to looking down a tube, like a periscope or like a scope on a rifle, like a hunting rifle. You're looking down this, or like looking down a microscope. You're looking down this little thing, and you can only see what's in this tiny little circle. You're missing 99.99% of all the information around you. You are not aware, and this turns a woman off when you're in your logical left brain, because back in the caveman era, he had to be wide open, not only visually peripheral, but auditorial in a big circle about a mile wide, and his kinesthetics. Now, there's something I'm going to teach you in the course that teaches you how to do this, and this triggers the female mating system, and it'll draw her to you. She will want to hug you, because it'll calm her body down when you're in this space. Now let me tell you something, when you're in that logical linear tubular way, like looking down that little hole very focused, it's good for hunting, but it's not good for survival. This is how you get killed by lions, tigers, and bears. The caveman had to have a wide open peripheral system. Same with hunters. Not hunters, but same with, hunters if they want to hunt good, yeah. But same with people fighting wars and guys that are in prison. This is why women are highly attracted to men that come out of prison, because you don't have a choice. You got to tune into your five senses. You got to expand that microscopic view, looking down that scope wide open. Prisoners don't know what they're doing. All they know is they had to survive, and when they tuned into this, boom, all of a sudden they're wide open, and women are attracted to this. So before we get into the science of it, one thing I want to tell you is, once I learned this, I was like, holy shit, so basically men are very aware of what's directly in front of us. The male left brain is the direct brain, the linear. It's going down a line. It's in a tube. And then it dawned on me, like, so wait a minute. So men are basically like racehorses with a blinder on the left side and the right side of their eyes, and they can only see what's in front of them. That's not safe. That's not good. These are the men that do what they're told, and they can't figure out why they can't get ahead, because the people that are wide open and looking at you like, dude, you are oblivious. You don't know what the hell's going on. You're not going to be a leader. And women are wide open. They can see who's open and who's not. You can't see it from the left brain. And remember, when you are wide open, it literally triggers her mating system, and it draws her to you, and she wants to mate with you. Alright, now watch this. So whenever I say this to women about, I say men are like, they can see right in front of them, like racehorses with blinders on the left and right side. They just start, and no, see, it's like they can only see what's right in front of them, like they have blinders on the left and right side. They go, you mean like a racehorse? I'm like, yeah, and they start laughing, go, oh, that's so true. And here's the next thing they always say. They say, that's why we can manipulate and control men. Remember the book, The Art of War? Well, one of the things it talks about is let your enemy believe that they have the power. Let them think that they're stronger, that they have a bigger army. Why? Because then you won't be considered a threat, and then they won't attack you. So one thing I'm doing is I'm giving away women's secrets that they've held over men for centuries. And men have been completely oblivious, going right along with it like a bunch of dumbasses. And it's true. So here's what I mean. You want to convince your enemy that they have all the money, they have all the power, and that they're stronger than you. And that's exactly what women have been doing to the Western world, to the Western men. Women cry out, we want equality. But behind closed doors, they snicker, they laugh, and they're like, dude, we have all the power. We have all the social power. We make the rules. We make the divorce laws. We have all the money. We control the money. And women laugh. They think it's a fucking joke. Only one male out of about 100, maybe 1,000 male actually has this form of power that women have. It's very rare, and it's actually, it's probably 1 out of 100,000. It's extremely rare. Now here's the very interesting thing. When you don't, number one, when you don't have this power, when you're oblivious and they can convince you that you're the man and that you're the boss, and then they sit there and spin you in circles and they tell you what to do and they make the rules, and and oh, you've got the power, I need equality. Dude, guys, I'm telling you right now, women have all the power and they fucking know it, and they're fighting right now because men are starting to see it. They don't see it, they don't understand it, but they're fighting back because they know something's fucked up. So number one, when you're oblivious, that is a turn off, okay? And they laugh at you. They think it's a fucking joke. They'll marry you. They'll use you. They'll manipulate you, but they're not in love with you. And when they get sick and tired of this logical left brain shit that men throw at women all the time, they'll fucking divorce you, take your house, dog, car, kids, and your half your money. Now here's the thing that blew me away. This was very interesting because I always thought women wanted the power. Now watch this. When you learn how to open up to your right brain, they can see it and they're like, holy shit, there's the unicorn. There's one right there. And the dynamic completely flips. You become the guy that women pick to be the leader. You become the guy that women start to treat well. They want you to lead because you're open and your eyes are open and you can see the bigger picture. So back around 1990 or 1991, I was at the Tony Robbins' 3.5-day seminar, the Fire Walk, and it was called the Unlimited Power Weekend, right? So we ended up walking on red hot coals or fire. It was a really cool event, by the way. It was super cool. Like, it blew my mind. So during the course, Tony Robbins will start talking about business and sales and stuff, and he was talking about power. And this is an actual statistic that they've been taking, I don't know, since the 70s. Now, when I say they, I mean like real estate agents and car dealerships, like major manufacturers like Toyota, Ford, Century 21, etc. Now, in the sales process, this is something they teach you in NLP. One of the first things you want to do early on, once you gain rapport, is you want to make sure that they are. Okay, so when you're when you're qualifying them to make sure that they, number one, have the money, they've got a job, and they've got the credit. This is called qualifying. You want to make sure that they are the decision maker. Here's why. You don't want to take them out. Let's say you're a car dealer and a car salesman, and then you take them on a car. You explain the car and the horsepower and all, and how much it costs and all this stuff, and then you take them for a test drive, a 10-minute, 15-minute drive, whatever it is. Now you've spent 45 minutes to an hour with them, and you say, okay, well, do you want to buy the car today? Like, do you want to make a lease? Do you want to do this? And they're like, well, I've got to go back home and I've got to talk to my wife and ask her permission. Now, when Tony Robbins said this in a seminar, every single woman burst out in uproariously laughter, uncontrollable laughter, because here's what women know. Women know that they have the power, even if they don't work. You got to understand, the king does not fucking dig ditches. The king does not lift things. The king does not do heavy labor. The king does not work. The laborer does. The slave does the work. So here you are, men in the 60s, 70s, 80s, thinking, oh, I've got the power. You don't got the power. You're going off slaving away while she decides who gets to spend the money or what you get to buy or don't get to buy. She's sitting home in luxury, spending your money. All right, I had a buddy. This guy, his wife didn't work, but he did the work. He had his own business. And I remember he goes, hey, man, let's go to the mall. I want to go get something real quick. I was like, okay. So we were at his house, and I was in the kitchen, living room area. And he yells down the hallway. He goes, honey. And his voice became really submissive. Now, mind you, this guy was 6'2.5", and he was about 275 pounds. He was a big dude. And she goes, and he suddenly his voice became, I want to say, almost effeminate. Now, this is a big, masculine dude. Honey, can I go to the bank? She goes, for what? And this just bitchy, cunty, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that word, but it was just like, for what? The most irritating voice you could imagine. He goes, well, I want to go to the mall and I want to get a Raiders hat. Now, his whole life was Raiders. That's the only thing that she allowed him to have. Keyword, allowed him to have. And yet he was the breadwinner. He worked his ass off. The hat was like, back then it was like $25 $5 or $22. And she goes, no. And he goes, oh, come. And now here he is begging her. And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding. But around the dudes, he would never put up with shit with anyone. This dude would not. This dude was a pretty tough dude. And yet, she let him believe that he was the man of the house. He was the leader. He didn't lead shit. Nothing. Anything I'm telling you, I can't tell you how, anything he wanted, even when he was saving up for this boat, she's like, no, you can't buy it. She wouldn't let him buy it. And thus he didn't. He didn't buy the Raiders hat. I'm like, dude, it's like 20 some fucking bucks. And it was his money. So here's the deal. So in the Tony Robbins seminar, Tony Robbins gave this statistic. This was after while the women are laughing uproariously. Because men think that you guys have the power. You don't. And they know it. So Tony said this. I can't remember the exact statistic, but I think it was something like 85 or 87% of every man that walks onto a car dealership, they have to go home to ask their wife permission to buy the car. That's why the first thing they do is they ask you, who's the decision maker? They want to find out, are you married? Are you in a relationship? Oh, so, if we go through the sales process today, can you make a decision today? Or do you have to go home and speak to someone and work it out with them? And it was more than 85% of the men had to go home and ask permission from their wives. And the women lost it. They were fucking laughing their ass off. And all the men, these are grown executives, powerful millionaire men, going, what's so funny? I don't get it. Trust me, being oblivious is not a smart move. You have to learn how to open up to the right brain and see things fully in an expanded circle around you. This is something we will go over again and again and again in the course Cracked Female Code. If you think it's peripheral vision, that is like 1% of what I'm talking about. Literally, it does not have the weight or the power to draw women to you. And when you learn how to develop this and get even fairly good at it, you don't even have to be an intermediate, just kind of get a grasp of it, you start gaining more social power, especially when it comes to dealing with women. Alright, so let's go back to the art of war to some degree. I want to actually talk about it, but here's one thing that a lot of men are completely bamboozled over. The wooleth had been pulleth over thine eyeth. Look, I'm going to ask you a question. Who here honestly believes that we live in a patriarchal society? And I mean Western countries, from Europe to Canada to United States, etc. If you believe that we have lived or ever lived in a patriarchal society in our countries, you have been bamboozled, and I'll prove it right now. Clearly, you don't understand the definition of patriarchal society or a matriarchal society. A patriarchal society is one husband and multiple wives, just like, yep, that's right, the Old Testament, when it was considered a blessing upon the tribe from the Lord God Almighty. Amen! Our church actually used to do that whenever we talk about, King Solomon and a couple other people that had multiple wives. It was considered that the more wives that you could take care of, the more wives that you impregnated, it was literally considered a blessing from the Lord God Almighty. And I'm talking about the Old Testament. One husband and multiple wives is a patriarchal society. That's a male society. So when I was saying this in a workshop, teaching this to some men, my girlfriend was from Laos, and she said, in my country to this day, if a man can have more than one wife and have multiple children with them, that is considered a blessing upon the community. Here's why. And it's the same thing in the old days. The more children you have, the more warriors you have to defend your tribe from other invading tribes. So you wanted to have a lot of children. And back then, the religious people considered this as a very good thing. And that's what my ex said. She goes, yeah, like when a man could do that, people respected him and admired him for that. Here's my point. The United States has never, ever, not one day has it been a patriarchal society, period, no sentence. If you think that men have led this country, no, women have completely dominated and controlled men. We're going back to technically it's 2,000 years. But we can go back to the 1400s, to when the king wasn't allowed to have multiple wives, and he had to, like, what was it, King Louis? He killed his wife so he could get another wife because, like, she kept giving him female children. It turns out it's the man's sperm that decided that. But the point being is, it was against the law. So that was not a patriarchal society. That was a matriarchal, meaning female society. Now, what do you think a matriarchal society is? One husband and one wife. That sounds like Western societies. Hello. Alright, so here's what happened. When we are in the womb of our mother, the female's body, I don't remember if it was 6 weeks or 6 months, but there's a certain time in development where the female body recognizes the baby as a male, and this is not good. So the first time I heard this, I did not believe what they were explaining. I thought, there's no way, that's bullshit. I heard it in a freaking new church in the city I used to live in. I was like, I'll never come back here. This guy's full of shit. Now but then later on, in one of my psychology classes, I heard it again, and then later on, I learned it in a book, and I thought, oh, you got to be kidding me. And then I went and actually talked to a doctor, and he's like, yeah, that's actually what happens. When it recognizes the baby to be a male, it douses the womb and thus the brain with testosterone to kill it. Pretty fucked up, huh? Now, it gets worse. So what ends up happening is it generally doesn't kill the baby, but what it does is it damages the corpus callosum, which is the bundle of nerves that connects the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere, and thus most men get stuck in their left brain and they can't get out. Why? Because this gives women the advantage to manipulate men, use men, and send men off war to die. So what does this do? It keeps you stuck in your left linear brain, which means you're looking down a tube like you got your eyes in a microscope, and you can't see how women are manipulating you. And I'm going to give you one more example right now. If you look at Gordon right in this picture, it's like he's saying, what the fuck? So here's the deal. The reason why a lot of men will go off to war is because they're oblivious to the realities of war until they get there, and then it's too late. They have to fight for their life. Most men, until they're about 48 years old, they are stuck in their left brain. They're looking down this tube, and they don't see the fullness of reality. We need this just like ants and just like other animals. You have to have fighter ants, fighter warriors. Some men have to be so stupid that they'll go off to a war and they'll die. But what we do as a society, especially women, oh, you're so strong, you're so macho, oh, you're so tough. Or my favorite, you're so brave. Now, if you study the evolution of humans and human behavior and anthropology and all that stuff, here's one thing that women do. Whenever invading tribe takes over, or invading country takes over the country, like the Spanish conquistadors or Indian American tribes or whatever, here's what happens. The majority of the women will take on one of the warriors as a husband willingly, make love to him, laugh, cook and clean, and life is good again. Some women, it's very few, I think it's 1 out of 10, will just battle to the death and just will not, maybe, I don't necessarily mean they'll fight they may fight to the death, but once they're conquered, they just will be miserable, they'll cry, they'll be happy, they won't want to have sex. It's very few women are loyal. If you don't believe me, go ahead and study human history and human behavior. Now, here's the good news. There's a way to get out of this. In my course, I will condition into you over and over and over into opening up to your right brain. This is something you're going to have to make a commitment to. If you're going to come in and think, oh, well, we did it for 5 days, I'm all done. No, it's like lifting weights, man. You got to keep doing it. The more you do it, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the faster you get at it. And that's when you really start pulling women. And here's the thing. Women will respect you more because you have awareness and you can see the games that they're pulling on you. So if you try to do this from the logical left brain, okay, well, women, you know, what do they call it? Hold on, I'm drawing a blank. Okay, it's called testing, like women will test you. And it's built into her mating system. It's hardwired to her. It's kind of an unconscious thing that women do. I've actually had an older woman, not an older woman, but in our 40s, and she just goes, and I called her and I'm like, dude, why do you keep fucking doing that? She goes, I don't know. It's weird. It's just like I just do it. It's like I'm not even conscious that I do it until you point it out. So whether she's conscious of it or not, it really doesn't matter. When I catch her, it makes her go, okay. It makes her feel safe and content because that means you're aware. All I'm going to do is say this. When you learn how to do this, you have a lot more power when it comes to dating relationships, and you don't get humiliated. Oh, there's another story. Oh, I've got to give you this other story. Hold on. So when I was 28 years old, I was a pretty weird dude. I was meditating, doing these techniques that open you up. And I went through a huge spiritual awakening when I was 28 years old, sorry. And I met this Asian girl, and really cute. She had another friend, a blonde girl. So what ended up happening was we all went out, and then there was some other guy, and I think the blonde girl worked with him. I don't remember how he got in the picture. But we were out having dinner, and they were talking in what the hidden language that I teach in my course, Cracked Female Code, where you say A but you don't mean A. It's indirect and symbolic, etc. And they were talking shit about this guy, laughing right in front of his fucking face at dinner. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Because this was like the first time that I understood that you could use this in a negative way, and I was like, that's fucked up. And I got really pissed. So after dinner, I tried to explain it to this guy, and he just was like, what are you talking about? No, they didn't. I was like, oh my fucking God. So then, her name was Kathy. That's right. So Kathy, the Asian girl, she called me the next morning, and I was she was, what are you so mad about? Like, what were you mad about last night? When I told her, she was like, you understood what we were saying? It's like, I go, yeah. And she goes, you can see that? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Now, on the one hand, it really turned her on. On the other hand, she was just trying to like, oh, well, we really didn't, and all this. And the thing about it was, I wasn't falling for it. So here's the deal. She told her friend, and her friend called me up and started getting all friendly because I wasn't officially dating either one of them. So on the one hand, it's like, oh shit, we got caught. But when they get caught, they're like, oh, this guy gets it, which, boom, is a major turn on. I know, sounds fucking nuts, doesn't it? Here's the deal, though. They started treating me really, really well because I could see through their bullshit. When you can see through their bullshit using the right brain, they highly value you. You become a high-valued man. Guys that are making all the money, I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many millionaires I've worked with where their wives just treated them like absolute fucking dirt and ended up divorcing them, taking the house, the kids, the fucking dog, the cars, and half their fucking money. I'm telling you, if you're relying on money, you're oblivious and you don't even know it. Buy my book, Crack the Female Code, and then take my course, and I will teach you how to pop out of that linear, logical, left brain, tubular thinking. Pop you open so you can see what's going on around you. Remember, click subscribe, click like, and go ahead and go to my website at crackthefemalecode.com. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video.